everybody. What's going on? I am Jake Thomas. Welcome to another episode of Sick, Scared, and Stupid, a podcast where hopefully you will dwell and derive some things on being happy, healthy, and wealthy by not being sick, scared, and stupid. Today's guest is joining us from across the planet, the whole other side of the world, 13 hours ahead of our current time zone. She is a very popular online personality in the carnivore space. There's a lot to talk about her own life, her own journey, her reasons why she's got into this, why she's so funny and seemingly viral online as well. The very witty, the very popular, the well-known, and now expectant mother as well. Congratulations on that, Miss Jessalyn Randle. Welcome, Jessalyn. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's go right into that, motherhood. You are now expecting. Congrats again. What's that done to your stance as far as in being a pretty devout carnivore and thinking, there's a lot of misnomer or maybe ignorance or fear-based ignorance or ignorant-based fear about how to nourish yourself, possibly nourishing your womb of the expected. And, people would say, well, you're not a parent or you wouldn't do that when you're a mother. And here you are, still walking the walk, so to speak. What is that got to be like? I mean, I just want to hear immediately.
Yeah, well, I knew that I would stay pretty mostly carnivore when I was pregnant. I felt like I probably would need even more meat and animal products now that I'm pregnant. But I did loosen up a little bit to where I use seasonings now and condiments and things like that. So I eat meat, just it has a little more flavor now instead of just salt. So I am still mostly carnivore, but I don't want to claim full carnivore because sauces and stuff aren't carnivore, like hot sauce and things like that. But I didn't even think about changing anything other than if I wanted flavor on my food, I was going to be more lenient with myself because I'm pregnant and I need to eat something. So I'd rather eat something that tastes good to me than not eat something at all,
Yeah. Fair. It's good that you brought that up too about kind of, a lot of people have different definitions or, ideologies almost around like what it means to be a vegan or a carnivore, or I'm a plant-based person or an animal-based person. What's Jessalyn Randle's definition of being a carnivore eater?
So carnivore, I think the definition of carnivore is just meat, any meat, land or sea, and then animal products like eggs and dairy. So if it came from an animal, you can eat it. So that's the hard definition of carnivore. And then obviously people will be more lenient and have chocolate flavored protein powder and stuff like that, or hot sauce and condiments and things like that. And those aren't carnivore, but this isn't a religion to me. I'm not, I don't have to go get forgiveness for my sins. If I put some hot sauce on my food, I can do what I want. This is just a diet. So I don't take it too extreme. I don't take it too seriously. Most of what I am eating is meat and animal products, but if I want to put something on it, I will. Right now, before I was really strict and I was just doing salt. I didn't even use pepper. It was just salt and meat and animal products. But now I'm a little more lenient. Yeah. But I'm definitely not dogmatic about it or anything. And it doesn't bug me when people do that too. If they are claiming carnivore and they are using things that aren't carnivore, I don't really care. If they're encouraging people to eat more meat, I feel like that's the main goal, is just getting people to be not afraid to eat red meat. And if they are going to eat more red meat and put some A1 on it, dude, let them put some A1 on it. Don't hound, just let it happen.
Yeah.
And then you can progress. If that's how you start, that's fine. Sorry. If that's how you start, it's fine. But you can definitely progress and learn more and change and adapt and stuff like that, because it's definitely an evolution thing. It's not, in my opinion, it's not a hard, you have to be carnivore, strict carnivore for the rest of your life, kind of like veganism and stuff. I definitely don't ascribe to that.
Well put. Yeah, I agree to much of that, in the sense that it's not about being dogmatic or absolute, right? It's more about being conscious and empowered, not feeling imprisoned, but feeling conscious and empowered. Like, I'm choosing to do this. I believe in what it's doing for my health, physically, mentally, or otherwise. And that's, I think, the biggest first step. And you mentioned that yourself about just getting into eating more meat, becoming
Yeah.
more dominant, having that be the more dominant calorie. Yeah, you're not losing. The odds of you losing your fight with your health to A1 is very minimal. I mean, you'd have to be having a lot of A1 to be
Yeah.
that, being your big defender or big foe. So yeah, when it comes to getting in there and first getting your toes in the water, do whatever you got to do. I would say, like, obviously you can take it to that extreme or the hard sense, like you said, and go, all right, I'm diving in straight on, just animals, animal byproducts. Maybe it's only red meat and just salt. Like, hey, power to you. But sustainability is the key. And I think
Yeah.
that's what you're really trying to say with your words there, that, encouraging people to do something that's going to work for them and that's going to be able to work and repeat over time. Where did you start with this? Why did you start with this? Was it kind of a spur of the moment idea? Was it out of need, or were you bored?
Yeah, I was just bored. I was like, oh, I just want to piss off some vegans. No, I in 2019, the end of 2019. So I had been married for a few years and just depressed, struggling with my weight. I've always been struggling with my weight most
Mm,
of my life, and I had acne most of my life, and I had chronic
mm,
constipation for most of my life. So for about 20 years of my life, I was going to the bathroom, like number two, once every couple of weeks. Like I never had a
wow,
normal bowel movement. It was awful,
wow.
awful. And I dealt with that for a very long time. And then when I got married, and I had mood issues and emotional issues and stuff like that. And my poor husband stuck with me through all of that. And I thought, because I'd been to so many doctors and dermatologists and all of that, and nothing they ever told me worked, nothing they ever gave me worked. So I kind of developed a mistrust for doctors. And
Mm,
I felt like, oh, this is just the cards I've been dealt. I can't really change anything about my weight, my skin, my bowel movements and stuff like that. And but my husband is much smarter than me, thankfully, and he did some research and was trying to figure out what could help me. And he found the Sean Baker Joe Rogan podcast. He came across it
yep,
at the end
yep,
of 2019.
yep,
Yeah,
yep.
and he was like, "Hey," he came up to me and he's like, this sounds like stuff that you can relate to. Just I want you to listen to it with an open mind. If you want to do it, I'll do it with you, and then we can see like if it works or if it doesn't work. And January 2020 is when we both started on World Carnivore Month. And
Mm,
after that, I never really looked back. It was amazing for me. I lost 20 pounds in 1 month, which a lot of people say
mm,
is unhealthy, but I didn't really try. I just started eating meat and animal products, and I lost that 20 pounds. So obviously my body didn't want it.
mm.
And my skin started to clear up. I started having normal bowel movements for the first time since I was a child. And I loved it, and I stuck with it, and I did it for a few years, a couple, like 2 years before I even started posting on social media. So it wasn't like I was like, "Ooh, I'm going to do this and then get popular on social media." I did it and stuck with it for a couple years, and then was like, you know what? I need to start sharing my story. And then kind of blew up from there. Not blew up, but got a little popular in the carnivore community. So yeah, it was my husband that showed me that podcast, and he totally is on board, totally does it, but he doesn't have any health issues or things like that.
Mm,
So he is not strict carnivore or anything. He basically does eat carnivore, but he'll every once in a while like eat a pizza
mm.
or something like that. Like he doesn't
Sure.
have anything that's like motivating him to stick with it, but he totally supports it.
God, that is awesome. God, y'all are great. That is fantastic. I mean, the support of solid partnership is a beautiful thing, and it's something that's a fleeting thing too. I think in this world, so that is awesome to hear as far as in support for each other like that. That's great. That alone,
Yeah,
and to hear the journey you've been on. I mean, 20 years. God, to not have to use the toilet like that for that amount of time, or between
not
those amount of
fun.
frustration.
Yeah.
I
It's
can
like
imagine. I
you
mean,
consumed your whole life. Like when you're
ugh.
like that, like I'm sure people, if you've ever been constipated, like you can relate. Like you just all you think about is like I have to go to the bathroom. When am I going to
Mm,
go to the bathroom? And then you're like, oh my god,
mm,
this is not going to be fun. This is going to be painful and awful. And that was like my whole life was just like constantly. And the doctors would tell me you need to eat more fiber and you need to eat more to push it out. So I would literally
mm,
like be eating tons of food to try to like make my stomach full to like get it out, and like that didn't work. It would just make me like fat and bloated
mm,
and it was just so stupid and annoying. And because of that, they said that because I had all of that stuff, like the junk in my stomach that wasn't getting like pushed out, it pushed out through my pores, which is why I had acne.
mm,
And then I had weight issues because of that too. And it's just so frustrating to me to know that I wouldn't have been overweight with acne and IBS issues if I just was eating the right foods my whole
mm,
life. Like, and
mm,
it's like this didn't need to happen. And that's mostly why I share my story, because it didn't need to happen, and it's happening to so many people. And if we speak up and share our stories with people, maybe we can prevent it or stop it sooner, in other people's lives, because that is like the most heartbreaking thing to me. Like I do wish I could go back in time and just like slip my parents a note or slip myself a note and just be like, just eat a little more red meat and less fiber and less ultra processed junk. And which
yeah.
is crazy that we weren't even like standard American. My family didn't even really eat that unhealthy. Like my parents
Mm,
made home cooked meals, and we didn't eat fast food. The only fast food that we ate growing up was In and Out. Like that was
mm,
like the
nice.
worst
I was
fast
in
food that we ate,
California.
which
That's
is
right. Yeah.
yeah, which is pretty good fast food as far as
Yeah.
fast
Yeah.
food
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
concerned. And yeah, so we didn't really, I never drank soda. I never liked soda as a kid. I was like never huge into candy. I liked ice cream. I did eat a lot of ice cream, but
Mm,
we ate like particular, like kind of healthy. We weren't like super like far standard American, but still like it just bugs me that it could have all been different. And people are like, oh, but didn't all those things make you who you are today? It's like, well, I could have been someone else too. Like that one always like, I'm like, ooh,
I
but
mean,
I get it. I
it's
get
not that bad. It only robs you of your adolescent, teen, and 20s, right? It's not, those
it.
aren't
Yeah.
really important times in your life.
Dude, it was so, and then it made me like my mental health awful because it
I
was like
bet.
all a chain reaction that just stemmed from my gut health and
Yeah.
made my mental health awful because I was so insecure because I was the fat girl with acne. So I kind of had
Mm,
to develop a personality because I couldn't rely on being cute and skinny.
mm,
I was the fat girl with acne. No boys liked me. I thought I would be alone for the rest of my life. I like
yeah.
didn't have like any sort of like romantic interest like until I was in college. Like it totally wrecked my confidence and my self-esteem. And I mean, if people have acne and experience acne, especially as a teenager, especially like bad
Mm,
acne, not just like one or two zits,
yeah.
they you know how much it completely wrecks your self-confidence and your image of yourself. And yeah, I was a depressed little child, and
Mm.
it was not good, and I was really insecure. And then, yeah, and then I tried carnivore, and all of those things changed, and I started getting more confidence, and yeah,
That sounds like you're pretty convinced to stick with it.
yeah, no, I definitely for I think for the rest of my life, or I probably, yeah, I don't think I'll ever be majority plant based again.
Mm,
Like, yeah, majority plant foods and stuff like that. When I say like majority, I was eating majority plants before that. People always think
mm,
I mean like vegetables and stuff, but most foods are like plant-based foods. Like if you're
mm-hmm.
eating like bread, like that's a plant. If you're eating like
Right.
peanut butter or something, like those are plants that you're eating.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say like I was eating mostly plant foods, most of my diet was from plants instead of from meat and animal products. So I don't think I'll ever go back to that. But I'm not like opposed to eventually like adding in things that don't affect me and don't cause
Mm.
issues and stuff like that. Eventually, if I ever want to, I'm again, I'm not dogmatic about that stuff, but right now I'm definitely happy with just like I pretty much just eat like ground beef with a couple eggs in it like every day. It's like super simple.
It's amazing to hear, the importance or prioritization you put on your health, your physical health, your mental health more than anything, like that you touched on, because obviously those issues cause such, self scrutiny and alter self esteem and just self confidence and just what kind of self image you have of yourself. Like you said, to not feel attractive, to have to adopt a different identity of the fat girl with acne, or to not have a dating or romantic life. To be robbed of those things or to feel robbed of those things. And then all of a sudden, maybe an ignorant observer goes, God, Justin, like you just eat, ground beef and eggs. Like, that's got to be so boring. But meanwhile, you have
Yeah.
this resume of why, and
Yeah.
just having you iterate all that. It's like, God damn, like, yeah, I bet that ground beef and eggs is pretty darn good, like
Yeah.
considering everything else.
Yeah, no, that is something that because on the internet, when people will come across your stuff, they'll judge everything about you based on like that 30, like
Oh, yeah.
6 to 30 second clip, and
Oh, yeah.
not take into account like your whole entire life before that.
Oh, yeah.
And that always like gets me when people are like, oh, well, you don't like your skin doesn't look that great. And it's like, bro, my skin looks great compared to what it looked like when I was 15, 16 years old. Like, I am
Yeah.
completely happy with how my skin looks right now. Like, I'm not saying it's perfect, but, and people do that where it's like, you don't have perfect skin. It's like, I love
Yeah.
my skin right now because I don't
Yeah.
know, like, compared to what it was, or I love my body now compared to what it was. I love, like, my life now compared to what it was and my mental
Mm.
health compared to what it was. Like, I'm definitely not perfect by any means, but just if you take into account like where I've been and what I've been through, I think that it's significantly better, and I'll take this over that any day.
Oh, amazing. Oh, yeah, and I can totally relate on the trolling that can come from online. I mean, God bless America. It's a free country, and pretty much the rest of the world, for people to be able to say and think what they want, especially on social media. You put it out there, just, be ready to reap the whirlwind. I've, had stuff with my mother posted with me, and people are like, coming out, she doesn't look that great for her age. And I'm like, Jesus, dude, like, come on now, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. So
Yeah,
what,
you definitely have
talk
to
on.
have thick skin, which I think my past life of what I went through prepared me for social media too. Of just because like I would get made fun of for my skin and my weight and stuff like that,
Mm,
and I was the baby in the family too. So
mm,
my siblings would pick on me and stuff. So like I definitely think that what I went through before prepared me for social media, and even my dad like was one of those dads that's like kind of like bullies you, but like in a dad way. So
mm,
he kind of prepared me for like dealing with trolls and stuff like that, to where I'm like, bro, if
mm.
you want to hurt my feelings, you're gonna have to try way harder than that. So I think that helped me a lot too.
That's awesome. I was gonna go one direction, but let's go a different one. What
Oh,
can you say to someone else that's out there, that is going through something similar to what you've gone through, or past similar to yours, be it with acne, weight issues, self esteem, anything like that. Especially a young girl that's out there listening to you. Like, what would you say to her? You said you don't have the opportunity to go back yourself. If you could, you would. But and voicing this awareness and informing people, it's kind of like you were talking about before. Like, what would you say? Like, what would be something that I could take from you and be like, oh, that's a great point, Justin. Like, thanks. I'm really
yeah.
going through some shit right now, and that really helped me.
Yeah. Well, I would say if you're curious, just look into what I'm saying and what I'm doing. I have a lot of books that I've read that I recommend to people that I absolutely love, that convinced me to stick with it. Which I think is the number one thing of doing research for yourself, not just
Mm,
listening to someone's story and going,
yeah.
"Oh, I'm going to do exactly what she says because it worked for her." Like doing research for yourself and deciding for yourself if it's something you want to do or not, I think is really important, because if you try like something like Carnivore, and it doesn't really work, or some things start to go wrong, or and things and stuff like that, you might give up. And it might be a really simple solution, like adding more fat to your diet or something like that, or removing dairy from your diet or something. And researching those things and knowing why and how and stuff is really important. So I would say just look into what I'm saying if you're interested. And if you're super interested, just give it a shot, like for 30 days and just see what could change and what would happen. And we all are different, and we all have different health issues. And if it worked for me, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you or anyone else. But I mean, when I tried it, my mindset was, well, I've tried so many other things. Nothing else has worked. What's wrong with me just trying one more thing and just seeing if it works? And that was basically my mindset. Was I was just like kind of like not hopeless, but I was kind of just like not desperate. I don't know how to. So I was kind of just like, okay,
Fuck it.
let's just
Like, why not?
yeah.
Why not? Right?
Why not? It's like, it can't get any worse. Like, so let's just try it, see what happens. If nothing happens, then I'll be in the same boat that I've been in for however many years. But if this works, that'll be amazing. And that was kind of my mindset of just like, screw it, let's do it. And it worked really well for me. And it has worked really well for a lot of people with a huge range of health issues, not just the things that I'm going through, but everyone in the carnivore community has such unique stories and such vastly different stories of how this way of eating has helped them so much. And that is super interesting to me. So even if you can't relate exactly to what I'm saying, like there probably is a carnivore story out there that you can relate to, because we are finding out more and more how connected chronic health issues and autoimmune issues and stuff are to diet. And we are finding out more and more that the like proper human diet is like meat and animal products primarily.
Shout out to Ken Berry for that one.
Yeah. Which that is a great way to put it. The proper human diet. It's like what humans were designed to eat, what we thrive on eating, what our body loves. We don't have to, doesn't have to convert it into anything else to use it. Like we can use everything that the meat and animal products have to offer, like almost everything. I don't know. It's probably not like 100% bioavailable, but like highly bioavailable.
Pretty darn close. Pretty darn close.
Yeah.
So what, you talked about adding other things back in, maybe one day eventually. What, for a lot of people, there's a reluctance because they miss those things, or they miss things. They're emotionally connected or attached. Well, how long should I do this, Jessalyn? I mean, like, do I have to give this up forever? And I kind of look at it as, you look at the life that you've had before whatever that moment is of realization, or like, I need to do something, or the F it, why not? Let's try it. Screw it, let's do it. Just use your words. That was great. But yet I want to cling to this life and these ways that got me to where I was in the first place. And I'm more afraid of giving up what got me there, as opposed to embracing this unknown kind of thing. And I think it's just amazing that we hold on to, we are conditioned so deeply into these, ways of eating, of thinking, of just programmed, innate programming that we all are born with, especially in the modern world, in the Western world, whether it's through medicine that you kind of touched on, through media, friends, whatever. To give up those things, oh my God, like what could I do? How much has embracing what you've done been more plentiful to your happiness, as opposed to what you would maybe be missing per se in those other things?
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously like it completely changed my life. So I don't miss a lot of what I used to consume and stuff like that. And I don't know, I think I kind of lucked out too, because I was never really like emotionally connected to food, and I don't have any sort of like food addiction or anything like that. So it was pretty easy for me. It was pretty easy for me to give up those things. And for about 10 years before I started carnivore, I was gluten-free too. So I'd already given up like bread, basically. I hadn't had bread for like 10 years. And I was never a huge like bread person anyway, even before that. But everything, once you go gluten free, you kind of realize like everything has wheat in it, even if you're not just eating a loaf of bread. So I don't know. I was kind of lucky and I was never like that person where I was like, oh, I have to go to a family event. And it's just like, there was a lot of food there and stuff, but my mindset was never like, it's about the food. It was always like about spending time with people. Yeah, I don't know if I'm the best person to like talk about that, because I don't have like food addiction, and like I've never done like family stuff and cared about the food that was there. Even when I was a child, if at like Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff, I would literally eat like just the sweet potatoes, and like that was like the only thing that was on my plate. So I've always kind of been a picky eater. So going from being a picky eater to just eating like 6 things like was pretty easy for me. But yeah, was that like kind of your question? I don't know if that
Yeah, no,
if
no. I
that
mean, like
okay.
what more so, I guess better question would have been, are you doing what makes you happy? Are you doing what you feel like you have to do?
Yeah. No, I definitely am doing what makes me happy. I guess like, but like, to be honest, like eating junk food like makes you happy in the moment, but like I
Mm,
think it's more of like makes you happy long term,
mm,
instead of just like short term happiness. Because like obviously like someone's gonna be a liar if they say like eating like a Dairy Queen something isn't going to be like, oh my God, this is so delicious. It makes me so happy, Like obviously, like it's designed to make you happy and
to
be
do that,
delicious,
yeah,
but
yeah,
then you feel like shit like a couple hours later or the next day.
yeah,
So it's like this way of eating makes you happy in the moment and happy the next day and happy a week later and happy a
mm,
month later and years later. So it's definitely like long term and sustainable, which I don't think that like I don't get when people say it's like not sustainable. Like this is this
mm,
is literally
yeah,
how humans
yeah,
have been eating for
yeah,
since we've been humans. So it's kind of like the most sustainable way of eating. I don't understand how just constantly eating whatever like it looks like it would be good and just like adhering to just like your pleasures and stuff like that. I don't understand how
yeah.
that's sustainable. That doesn't sound sustainable at all.
Yeah, I feel like people get very easily have the blinders put on to time, in the sense that 100 years ago, what things looked like on the shelves of the supermarkets or on the streets that were sold by vendors or the farmers markets were completely different than
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
150, 200 years ago, it might as well be 2000.
Yeah.
To where like there was nothing similar in comparison to today, as far as in how much more manufactured and processed and wrapped and packaged and boxed and sealed as things are now. It was much more
Yeah.
fresh. Things were real. Things were, they were grown, cultivated, raised, etc. Just completely, because that was the utility. That was the way. That was the technology. That was the limit of what people were capable of doing. And that's just 200 years ago. It's a microcosm of time in comparison to our evolution, like you're talking about. But
It's like
yeah,
four
I
people
don't.
ago.
Yeah, I mean, like, geez, and it's easy to forget that. I just think we're very short-sighted as a society, and that it's really attractive and trendy to see these nouveau things, and want to cling on to them because it's a movement, it's trendy, whatever, they make us feel better. But at the same time, it's what we see. I talk about it regularly in the sense that maybe there's an occasional good thing for you to consume by way of American media. Maybe occasional, sure, I'll say it. One out of 1,000, commercials or something like that. But if you want to radically improve your health,
Mhm.
consume nothing, nothing as advertised by
Yeah.
anything on American
Hmm.
media. The
Yeah.
Super Bowl just recently is like anything that is being brought to your attention to eat or drink or consume. Don't do it. And
Hmm.
that's what our short-sightedness, it falls right there. So I don't know, maybe we're just too caught up in ourselves, or we're just blinded by what's going on, or maybe it's because it's working. This
Yeah.
psychological warfare. I don't know if we want to go down that rabbit hole, but clearly the mass marketing is working on us. So
Yeah.
what
Well,
for you? Go ahead.
well, I was going to say it's just you have to remember that every single thing that you see is an advertisement for something, or every single thing you hear, someone's trying to sell you something. Like even us talking right now, like we're trying to convince people to eat more meat and things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so it's like you, and I think it's funny when people get all like butthurt when you like advertise something on social media or something like that, and it's like literally your whole entire life is an advertisement for something, or like anywhere you go there's ads everywhere. And it's your responsibility to understand that you're constantly like consuming like information, and you have the choice to like filter out what you choose to let influence you or what you choose to not let influence you. And I think a lot of people are just kind of blindly skating through life, letting all of these things like influence them, and they're not aware of it at all, and they're just like, oh, I see a cheeseburger. Oh, that looks good. I'm going to go get a cheeseburger. Instead of like consciously like making a decision like, oh, that's an ad to make Burger King money. I'm not going to go do that because I don't really need a cheeseburger. And I think most people are just lazy, and they just let whatever influences in, and they don't have that filter. And I think that like having a filter and just understanding that everyone is always trying to sell you something, and you just have to be aware of that, and it's your choice of whether you're if they say something and you're like, wow, that is interesting, I'm going to look into that, then go look into it. And if it's not, and if you try it and you enjoy it, sorry, if you try it and you enjoy it, then stick with it. Then what they did you a favor. But it's kind of ignorant to go through life and just not understand that you're constantly being like marketed to. And I think like when like realizing that like helped change my mindset a lot about a lot of things and influence in our culture today.
Sounds like she's talking about sick, scared, and stupid, guys. I don't know. Could just be me. Wow. What have you found out things through titration and just experimentation? Like what doesn't work for you? Like, did you ever find hard culprits that were reactive or inflammatory or causing you issues? Like specific things like 100%, this is the one that gives me
Yeah.
the worst blank, or 100%, this is an absolute never going back to it kind of thing.
Yeah. So I did Lion Diet, and that I wanted to do that. I did it like 3 years, I think 3 years. I don't remember. A few years after I started Carnivore, and I finally decided to give it a try, and I did it for 30 days. And I realized like that wasn't for me. Like that being that strict wasn't for me. I need to have like bacon and chicken in my life, a little more variety. And then I can't do garlic. Like garlic really makes me feel gross and bloated. And I don't know. Other than that, I haven't really branched out a lot and like tried to incorporate more things into my diet on a regular basis to know specifically like this is a yes, this is a no, because I haven't really had the desire to, because I really enjoy eating meat and animal products, so I don't really care to figure out those other things. And then within carnivore though, I found that like high fat, like super high fat, because naturally carnivore is a high fat diet, but like 80% fat is not for me. I started to just gain weight and I didn't enjoy it at all. So I thrive best around like 60/40. So I realized that. So yeah, I've done a little bit of experimenting, but mostly within like the meat and animal product sphere, not like incorporating plants back in. I haven't really done much of that because I don't really have a desire to, like I said.
I bet. Well, okay, so 4 years, congrats on 4 years or 4.5 years now, January 2020. When did you start to feel the call of, I got to share this with other people. I got to share my results. I got to share my story. I got to get this message out here. What started that for you?
Okay, so honestly, I didn't want to at all. I like didn't want to ever do social media. I thought it was so stupid. And then the pandemic happened, and we were living in North Carolina at the time. And my husband, he was going through the Q course. So he was really, really busy. And I didn't have a job because when he first started the military, I was working and he was in the military. And when he would have a day off, I would be at work. When I would have a day off, he would be at work. And then he would be deployed for months at a time. And it just wasn't very good on our marriage. And eventually,
No, really?
yeah, eventually when he started making enough money, he was like, hey, like, if you want to quit your job, I can, like, we're making enough money that we don't need your paycheck. It's kind of just like extra income. And so he kind of encouraged me to quit his job, or to quit my job, and stay home so we could spend time together. When he was in the Q course and super busy, I was doing nothing. Like, I had no purpose. Like, we couldn't go out and do fun things anymore because he was studying and stuff like that. And so I started college. I went back to college, and then college, like, I did this one like gen ed course that kind of talked about like growth mindset versus fixed mindset, and kind of like getting over your fear that's holding you back and stuff like that. And that course actually kind of inspired me to start like posting on social media, because I was so scared that people would that I would tank and people would like judge me and it would be awful and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. So I started posting about carnivore stuff on social media, and it kind of just like took off after that. So that was a very long story.
That's cool though. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Again, shout out to you guys for sticking together with each other. That's awesome through this.
Yeah, no, my husband is amazing. Like, he is like the best person ever, and he makes me a better person. And I do not know where my life would be without him. Like, he is the best person ever.
Beautiful. Pay attention, guys. Pay attention to that. And I had one of his boys on the show 2 weeks ago, or last week actually. So funny, small world. Geez, let's see. Yeah, I was right behind you then. I started in June of 2020 myself. You know, I'd finished competing as a vegan bodybuilder in 2019, and right after that, a friend of mine proposed to me the diet. He's like, you know, check out this interview with Sean Baker and Joe Rogan. Read this book. You know, listen to these podcasts. I'm like, yeah, dude, whatever. Like, okay, I get it. And sure enough, you know, like here we are 4 years later, and still sticking to it. That there's something there. You know, there's definitely something in it, in prioritizing feeling over pleasure. And not to say that good feelings are not pleasurable, because they definitely are. But you know, a big part of it for me, Jessalyn, and I'll field it to you on this, is that I feel that you know, what's the best diet debate will never be settled, because it pits pleasure against utility, or pleasure against purpose. Meaning, it's pretty undeniable how these things make you feel. It's pretty undeniable how they make me feel. But if I go, God, Jessalyn, you know what though? I love red wine, or I love pizza. Every time I drink red wine, I get a headache. Well,
Yeah.
Jake, you don't really love red wine. Your emotional mind might. Your memory trying to recount, or like, you know, have another thing again might. But your body is clearly telling you it does not. No, but I love pizza. Yeah, but every time you eat pizza, you get bloated, you fart, you do not feel well, you don't smell well, you sweat, you can't sleep. You don't like pizza. Your body doesn't like pizza. You're trying to cling to these things emotionally. Have you had anything like that? I know you talked about not having, you know, issues in the past with food or something like that, but what about for someone who's pretty stuck on that? You know, is there a pleasure to be found in that happiness, as opposed to like, it's just pure utility? I know for you, it makes you pretty happy. Like, clearly you're smiling and you love talking about it, and your videos are very high vibe and in good energy. But for a lot of people, that's what I think is the big hurdle, is trying to, you know, not say, well, it's not just that, or like, it can't just be meat, or it can't be. But I think it's because we're stuck in that pleasure centric sense, where we prioritize pleasure over purpose or utility. What do you think about that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that you have to make that choice for yourself. And I'm a huge believer in, like, you can't save everyone. And if I share my story, someone might listen to it and give it a shot, and it might change their life. It might not. And that's how the cookie crumbles, you know, like, and I'm not trying to save everyone. I'm not trying to convince everyone to do what I do, but I am going to share my story. So I think that it has to be a personal choice for everyone, of if you are willing to give those things up. And if you're not, then hey, enjoy smelling weird and being bloated and having a headache and living your life like that. Like that is absolutely your choice, and that has nothing to do with me. But like if you are tired of living like that and feeling that way and kind of just fed up with all these health issues that are completely not, they do not need to be happening, and they are reversible. If you're tired of living like that, then make that decision for yourself and figure it out, change your mindset, do what you need to do to get over that. I think that in society today, like we baby people a lot, and even in the carnivore community, like a lot of people have to have their hands held through every single step. And it's like, you're an adult, this diet is very clear. You eat meat and animal products. That I don't know why there's confusion around that. It's meat and animal products, any meat, land, or sea. You don't need someone to hold your hand through it. You're an adult. You can figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, then like, I don't know, that's your problem. You know, I'm very be independent and do it for yourself, because also if you hold someone's hand through every single step of the way and you baby them and you try to like coddle them and stuff, they're not gonna like do it for themselves. But if you do it, if someone gets up off their butt, decides that they want to make a change, does some research, does everything like for themselves, because they want to, not because someone's encouraging them and like pleading with them and trying to convince them, but because they want to, they're going to stick with it and they're going to change their life, or they're going to be confident in their decision to not stick with it. So I think my dog, my dog was biting me. I think it's more important in my head to let people be independent than to try to like beg them to think like me or do what I'm doing or something like that. I don't know if that answered your question too. I'm sorry.
I tell you what, it's telling me that baby's going to be a freaking Spartan. That's for sure. I mean, between the like, SF father and you, the lioness, and what she's getting fed, like, look out, world. This kid's going to come out hot.
Yeah, like Megamind. Have you seen Megamind where he's like, I was 4 months old and still living at home. That's going to be my child.
God, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, no, I grew up being like very independent, and my parents instilled that in me, and I'm very much like that. It bugs me a lot. When like, obviously, like I love my husband and I love his support, and like I have that partnership and stuff. Like I'm not like that independent to where I am in that, like, just in general, just like I'm a very independent person and encourage that in people. And I think that is a lot of like what my goal is to with my content, is to just like inspire people to ask questions. I don't want to be that person that's just like barfing out information all of the time, trying to like just convince people of like how much I know, you know. I want to be that person that like sparks an idea and plants a seed and encourages people to like go look into it for themselves. Like that's always my goal, is like go try to find it yourself. And if you can't, like ask for help, like that's no big deal. But like the first thing you should do is like try to do it on your own, in my opinion. And I know, but like I do that. I know that not everyone can do that. And there are some like exceptions to that, with like serious food addiction and stuff, where you need like those communities and that help and stuff like that. But if you don't have those things, stop being lazy and just like put up or shut up and just deal with your health issues if you don't want to make a change, you know?
Freaking get some. Love it.
Yeah. Can you tell I'm like a military wife?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, if you start throwing up knife hands, you know, then I'm really going to be like, oh yeah, this is it's getting me fired up for sure.
Roger that.
Perfect. You tracking? We're tracking? Good.
There we go.
We're tracking, right? Yeah, you know, I think a lot of it, you talk about people's clinginess or, you know, it's real funny to see so many adults to have amnesia all of a sudden, or inability to function or operate. It's because they don't want to.
Yeah.
It's my theory / it's the truth. You know, people don't want to believe. Jessalyn, I've tried everything. I've gone to every person. I've listened to every blah, blah, blah. I've watched every video. I've tried every medication, da, da, da. Well, have you tried? just eating meat. Oh, I'm not going to do that. Well, then you haven't tried everything.
Yeah. Then I can't
Don't
help
say
you.
you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're not willing to, then guess what? It's not that bad. Hey,
Yeah.
that's okay. But when it's
Yeah.
bad enough, you'll do whatever it takes, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't
That's like me
matter.
and my
Like,
husband. Yeah.
yeah,
That's like
like you'll
me.
do whatever it takes. He knows
Yeah, I
that
was
for
willing to
sure.
just give it a try. Yeah, and he goes back to like eating like not good food because he doesn't have those health issues. So he,
Yeah.
like I said before, like he's not super motivated to stick with it. Whereas I never want to go back to how I was
Mm.
living before. So I will never go back to eating primarily plant based ever again, like plant foods.
It's a crisis of identity through conditioning because we are so attached to food because everything about our lives has to deal with eating because we live to eat as modern humans. We do not eat to live, we live to eat. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
guys, we're going on a trip. Everybody meet at my place. We're flying out in the morning. I'll have snacks waiting for us for when we meet. There'll be a coffee. We'll stop for coffee on the way to the airport. We'll get to the airport, get in the lounge, eat some more food. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
eat on the flight because it's transatlantic. We're going to land. Hey, anybody need coffee or snacks before we get in the Uber on the way to the hotel? We get to the hotel. We drop our luggage. We're going to drink downstairs. Then we go out to dinner. Then we're going to go out for food after that. Then maybe get a nightcap once we get back to we haven't even had a moment to breathe and be
Yeah.
just present and aware in time and space. Everything's been about where's the next meal, where's the next drink, where's the next moment to consume. And so
Yeah.
that's what I see is the fabric that is, under attack, and people feel that. They feel like, don't come after that thing. Like, you can talk about my mother, you can talk about my religion, but don't you dare talk about my food because
Mm-hmm.
we're that attached to it. So when you say people seem dumb or like they need their hands held, it's like, I agree because I feel like they don't want to believe that. They know all too well that that probably is some viable information and that, hey, it might even work, but like, oh God, don't tell me that's the way it's got to be. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
Is there a pill
Yeah.
I can take? Ozempic. Pfft. Is there a cheat code that I can use for it? Yeah, drugs and all that. Great. But the real way to do it is what people do not want to do because it attacks that thing that is so close and endearing to us because it's all we do because we live to
Mm-hmm.
eat rather than eat to live.
Yeah. Well, I think what was interesting uh, in something I actually learned in college, and I don't know if it's true, I haven't looked into it more, but in what I think a psychology class or something like that, we learned that you like we have these core beliefs as humans that like we believe to our core, like no matter
Mm,
what. And if those core beliefs get threatened, our brain can't distinguish whether it's like we are being physically attacked or if it's not physically attacked, if it's just like words,
mm,
um,
mm.
and so like that's why a lot of people a lot of vegans too, like if you challenge their ideas, they lash out because
Oh yeah.
according to like what we were taught, like your
Oh
brain
yeah.
can't distinguish between if it's being physically attacked or not because those core beliefs are being attacked. So I think that has a lot to do with it too, where people just are kind of just again just going through life unaware of what's
Yeah.
happening, just unconscious to what's happening, just going with the flow of like their feelings and not like making logical decisions, just like emotional decisions all of the time. And when you threaten like food like that, because like I agree with you that we are eating. What would you say? Sorry, we're eating to live,
Living to
not living.
eat, living to eat. Yeah.
Yeah. So because we're doing that I like when you do like say like, hey, maybe you should try something else, then I think that people can't distinguish, or like their brains that just emotionally can't handle that.
Mm,
And some people can and some people can't. And I think the people like a lot of people in the carnivore community have very similar mindsets, to where the most successful people in the carnivore community, in my opinion, from what I've seen, is like the people who are independent and like do their own research and look into it on their own and
mm.
make these decisions on their own, and then they stick with it and they're really successful with it. And if something's not working, they figure it out instead of just quitting and
Yeah.
and going on to the next thing. I've noticed that in the carnivore community, that like everyone who I've talked to who is like who's stuck with it and is successful, like they're, like you said too, like you read books and stuff like that. Like you did your own research, you looked into it on your own. You didn't just listen to some random chick on social media saying she ate meat and it cleared her skin. Like you looked into it more than that, you know? And I think that that's like the key that people are kind of missing. And I don't know if it's laziness or ignorance or what, but I don't know if, and the interesting thing that's kind of like a constant in life is that like the truth, you can question it and you can dig, and no matter what, the truth is going to be the truth. So if you believe in veganism, then like look, or if you want to try veganism, like look into it, do the research, like scrutinize it, try to like figure out if it's wrong or if it's right. And you'll probably quickly find out that there's some like discrepancies there. But like with meat and animal products, like really dig into like whether red meat has been wrongly vilified or if it does cause heart disease and stuff. Like actually like look into those things. And I think like 90% of people who believe that red meat causes heart disease just heard it somewhere and then they just accepted it, you know, instead of like actually looking into things. And I think that's a huge problem in society too, is like we just hear things and then we're like, that sounds like it could be, right? Yeah. So yeah, again, I just like go back to just like put some work in and decide for yourself, because and then you'll be more confident that way too. Like if you do research and decide like carnivore is something that you want to try, or animal based or something like that, then when people question you and try to pick apart like, oh, you're going to die of cancer, you're going to get gout and all these things, you can be like, well, no, actually I'm not. And you're going to feel confident in your decision. Whereas if you don't do any research and someone's like, well, did you know that you're going to get kidney stones? And it's like, you're like, oh no, I'm going to get kidney stones? Oh, I didn't know that. Maybe I should start eating more spinach, you know? so like doing the research definitely like helps like just like make being confident in your decisions too. So I'm sorry. I feel like I keep going on like rabbit trails.
No, this is good. This is great. I mean, you're touching on the bumper sticker lawyers that we live amongst. You know, I was on Serena Carnivore's podcast a couple of weeks ago, a mutual friend of ours, and she said something that I hadn't heard it yet, or I guess I hadn't thought of it. But she's like, you know, I can't believe how much grief or criticism I get from people for doing this, as far as in they're offended or they antagonize me or they just come at me out of nowhere aggressively, you know, with opinions and this and that, or demonization. And I was like, yeah, wow, it's really true. You know, as a Marine, as a vegan, as a whatever identity I've had at whatever point in my life that might have been, you know, displeasing to some people or, you know, polarizing or whatever, never has it been as nearly antagonizing or chastising than this, because now I am automatically a extremely red-blooded Republican, gun-toting, you know, chauvinistic American ignoramus male. That
it doesn't help that you're a white male.
totally, but it's like the extreme of all that, you know, like has no conservation bone in his body or care about environmental, you know, consciousness, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just like, damn, dude, like it was better being called a baby killer than like than being this. And that's what, you know, kind of you touched on, like, man, it's a hard identity line for people to accept, I think. But if you're willing to trust your feelings, and that's what I say, is that the mind is going to argue with things. The modern ears and eyes are going to see and hear things that they want to believe to be true, but the feelings are going to be irrefutable. And I tell people to let the feeling be the understanding, meaning like, again, no matter what you think you like about pizza, or no matter what you hear from the critics over there, like, okay, hear them, but you don't have to listen. You can hear, you can consider, you can process, but that does not mean that is the law. What are your feelings telling you? Like, I don't know, medical science is saying I shouldn't do this, but my acne cleared up. So science, culture, my freaking parents, my best friends in the world, all of a sudden are, hey, Jake, I'm really concerned about you. You know, you might die on us, man. I'm like, hey, dude, you know, like, I don't take antidepressants. Hey, man, you know, like, I kick drugs. Hey, you know, like, I kick booze. Like, you liked me more when I was a drug addict and an alcoholic and an abuser of every other thing. But now that I'm doing this, all of a sudden the microscope is on me for being wrong, or like you're worried or concerned. Whoa, what world do we live in? But you hit the nail on the head about do your research, stay informed, stay ahead of that so you don't look stupid when that spotlight gets cast on you. I'm going to ask you one more thing because it's the most common question that I get asked. Even though the majority of my clients are women, what can you
Sorry.
stand
Do
by?
you hear that?
We've got flight ops going on.
Living in Okinawa, man.
We've got flight ops going on. Kadena AFB for everybody that's tuning in out there. We got
It's
Harriers
so
overhead.
loud. It is
Yeah.
so loud. It's so. Do you know that the U.S. government pays the Okinawan people around here because it's like that?
I do.
Yeah,
I do know that.
every single day. I'm so sorry.
This is too good. It's too good. So,
Is it bringing back
funny.
memories?
Yeah, funny aside. Jessalyn is in Okinawa right now. I've been there on deployment myself. So when we were scheduling this interview, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm actually in Okinawa," I was like, "No way! This is too funny," because I work with somebody that's from the Philippines, and I was there before also. So the world has kind of come full circle again now. Except the last time I was doing this from Okinawa, I was there, and it was via Yahoo Messenger with voice because Skype had just come out and we all had external and third-party webcams, but this is a lot different. But to hear the Jets, that's pretty cool. I just brought it home.
Yeah,
Question is,
yeah.
for women, what do you tell women specifically as a woman, as an expectant mother, as someone who's come from where you've come from to get to where you are now? Because that's where I hear the most fear. That's where I see and am, aware of the most reluctance. Again, even though the majority of my clients are female, still I hear the most worry and concern from my hormones. I'm premenopausal, I'm pre postnatal, I'm postmenopausal. Like, what is this going to do to my cycle? What is this going to do to me? What do you say to them?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not a doctor, obviously, or any. I'm just a
Big
girl who
disclaimer.
tried
Big
it.
disclaimer.
Yeah, and it's working really well. But I mean, women, like, we're more emotional just in general. We're more emotional beings, so we just usually tend to like make decisions with our emotions more instead of logically. And I think that a lot of women get caught up in that, and I think that a lot of women have been conditioned to believe that meat, especially red meat, is like manly and like a man thing, and vegetables and fruit and like lighter things like salads are female and stuff. And since you're a child, like you're kind of conditioned to believe that as a female, that like you eat salads with white meat chicken, and that was how I lived most of my life too, of just eating tons of fruits and vegetables and salads. And I didn't ever really eat a lot of red meat growing up. And so I think just if you're interested in it, like you just have to kind of change your mindset around it and understand that like this food is for humans. It's not for men or for women. It's for humans. And there's also like tons and tons of interviews and stuff of women who have hormonal issues and PCOS and haven't had their periods in years, and then their periods come back, and or just like they look like emaciatingly thin because they have like all these autoimmune issues, and then like with carnivore they look healthy again, or the reverse of like just being overweight and having like thyroid issues, and then like this helping them lose weight and stuff. So like if women are like concerned and not really willing to jump into it, like it's the same answer for everything is like look into it more, like dig a little deeper, and like listen to some more interviews and find people that you can relate to. And if what they're saying kind of sparks something in you as something of interest, then like give it a try. Like if you that's like if people want to try veganism, like go try it and see if it works for you. If you want to try this, try it and see if it works for you. Like your life is in your hands, and all people can do really is like share their experience and share their stories and stuff with you, and then you have to decide whether you believe them, or and if you want to try it, or whether you think they're crazy and you they're gonna die of heart disease or something. Yeah, but I don't know. I think women just I don't know. I think women are coming around though. I think we'll eventually will come around, especially if more women share their stories of how this changed their life, then I think it'll convince, because women are very like social creatures too. So if more women are saying like, "Hey, I did this and it worked," then it'll convince more women. But I don't know specifically how to convince women to do it, because I'm very just like straightforward and not very emotional and stuff, to where
Yeah.
I think Serena probably is a good one for like relating to women really well, like who you mentioned earlier. But with me, I'm very like, do it or don't. I don't care. Which is, I'm not a very like sensitive girl.
Beautiful.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. It's honesty. It's radical candor. I'd welcome that far more than inflated nonsense for sure. But it's true. And I agree. I think the world is coming around. Thankfully, I think as much as information is used to weaponize for harm, we're trying to. Oh, I got dirt on Jessalyn. Like, ha ha ha! I've got truth on her. I'm going to destroy her with it.
Yeah.
People are using truth now more for empowerment, and I believe that and see that, and that's why we're talking now. So that's a precursor to what's to come. Like, I hope there's a whole lot more of it, and really appreciate, admire, and champion you for doing what you're doing, speaking about what you talk about, your own journey, and what you're going through, and the success you continue to have, and for someone that is encouraging and inspiring people to reconnect with their food, to reconnect with where their food comes from, to question what they thought they knew about meat, and to become more independent, conscious consumers. That is
Yeah.
Jessalyn Randle. Jessalyn, where can everybody, find you at? Jessalyn.Randle is the Instagram, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I'm most active on Instagram. I have like other things, like I have some stuff on my YouTube channel, like just a few videos of where I visited farms, which I thought was really cool. Like this is Farms Over Pharma, but I did it when I was in the United
Nice.
States for 6 months. I got to tour, go on a little road trip and visit some local
Yeah, you
farms
went
and
to
ranches.
Rep, right?
Yeah, I went to Rubber
Nice,
Visions.
nice,
That was so fun. And I got to cook a tomahawk, and I won a tomahawk because I had the best tomahawk,
nice,
which is
nice.
cool. Um,
Heck yeah.
and yeah, so I went to Rubber Visions and then Ancestral Farms, which does like heritage pigs, and they're free range, and they have like the best pork ever. So good. Like their bacon is like, ugh. And I did, and we went to, I forget where else we went to. Oh, Wyoming Cowboy Cuts in Wyoming too,
Oh,
and I just
nice. I'm going. I'm
yeah.
going to that this year
Oh, cool.
to
Yeah.
judge at it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's so cool.
Cool.
Their family's amazing. And then we went
Cool.
to one in Colorado too. Oh no, I forgot the name. But I have those on my YouTube video where I like go and interview
Gotta
them
check
and
that
they
out.
kind of show me. So those are really fun, because a lot of times, especially today, ranchers and farmers and stuff kind of get like vilified, and it's kind of like, yeah, people kind of like paint them as like these just like murderers and stuff. And if you ever actually go and like tour, you and question and get to know them and stuff, you realize how much they love their animals, like, and how much they respect their animals and the land, and how they're really trying to do like what's best for that animal. And obviously, like, that animal is going to be our food. Like, there's like, that is just a fact of life, and you can't get around that. Like you, I'm not going to like tiptoe around that. Like, those animals are going to be food. We are going to eat them, but they still like love them and treat them with so much respect. And it doesn't make any sense that farmers and ranchers would like be abusing their animals, and because that's their product. So that they want their product to be like the best that it can be. So I really enjoyed doing that and getting to know them, and just like inspiring more people to like reach out to their local rancher and farmer and stuff like that, and just ask them questions and things, because I think we're missing that a lot, where we just go to the grocery store and the meat we get is kind of just like faceless, nameless, and stuff like that. And you're not really connected to it at all. And I think that just reestablishing that connection would change a lot of things, I think, for people, and just a lot of people's perspective on food too. And just, you appreciate your meal a lot more. I think one of the guys from like Meat Mafia, I think, I saw him say something around along the lines of like, if we actually started like praying before our food, I think it would change a lot too, because he said that you're not going to like pray over a donut or like a bag of Skittles or something. But like, if you have like a good meal in front of you, you're gonna like feel good about like praying over that food and thinking like where that food came from and just being appreciative. But like if you just go and get like a bag of Doritos, like that's no, yeah, that's not something that you're gonna like take as seriously, you know. So I think that if we can start steering people that direction too, of like just like you said, like reconnecting people with where their food comes from, then I think their mindset around food would change a lot too. But yeah, my Instagram is where I am most active. So another long-winded rabbit trail
Perfect.
answer.
No, but you started off with finish and tail, you know, like, yep, Jessalyn.Randle. Yep, Instagram, Jessalyn. Perfect. And that's awesome. That's the truth, you know, about being an independent and conscious consumer. I'll have everything in the show notes for you guys. Justin, thank you so much for the time today, and congrats again on the baby that's to come. This fierce Spartan, well-fed, clearly nourished baby that's to
Gonna
come
come out
again.
with a beard.
Yeah, he's gonna come out with spear in hand and blood, you know,
Yeah.
ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
And best to Jared as well. Congrats to y'all, and best of
Thank you.
luck and everything. Jessalyn Randle, thanks for being here again, everybody. I'm Jake Thomas for another episode of Sick, Scared, and Stupid. Hopefully, you got some tips and notes on how to stay happy, healthy, and wealthy, and not be sick, scared, and stupid.